Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking 10 seemingly disconnected facts and weaving them together to totally challenge your everyday assumptions. You know, we all walk through life relying on a certain set of logical rules, right? We look at the fruit in our kitchen, the animals in the ocean, and the time on our clocks, and we think we understand exactly how they work. But today, we're going to peel back that curtain. We are exploring the illusion of the everyday.
So think about this for a second. What if everything you thought was true about the world was, well, just slightly off? Let's dive right in and look at how nature, time, and invisible forces completely defy human common sense. We're going to look at 10 concrete facts that prove the universe is far stranger and, honestly, far more brilliantly designed than we often realize.
Let's kick things off with Act 1, Nature's Bizarre Blueprints.
Okay, so if I asked you to hand me a berry, you'd probably reach for a strawberry or a raspberry, right? Well, according to the strict rules of botany, you'd actually be scientifically wrong. It turns out, to qualify as a true berry, a fruit has to develop from a single flower with one ovary. And because a banana fits this exact biological blueprint, it is, scientifically speaking, a berry. Meanwhile, the strawberry develops from multiple ovaries, which classifies it as an aggregate fruit. It's a tiny scientific fact for sure, but it completely changes the way we think about the fruit sitting right there on our kitchen counters.
Now, if you were going to design an animal for maximum efficiency, you absolutely wouldn't design the octopus. I mean, this creature has not one, but 3 distinct hearts. 2 of them work specifically to pump blood to the gills, while the third pumps it to the rest of the body. And that blood? It's literally blue because the octopus uses copper instead of iron to carry oxygen. But here is the most baffling part of its design. When an octopus swims, its main heart literally stops beating. This biological quirk means that swimming is totally exhausting for them, which is exactly why these incredibly intelligent creatures actually prefer crawling along the ocean floor.
And back on land, we find another creature completely defying the standard rules of biology. The adorable Australian wombat has a very specific and highly unusual biological feature. It produces cube-shaped poop. Yeah, you heard that right. Scientists have discovered that this bizarre shape is actually produced by varying elasticity in the wombat's intestines. But as we know, nature doesn't really do things by accident. This cube shape serves a brilliant evolutionary purpose. Wombats use their droppings to mark their territory, and because the droppings are cubes, they don't roll away off of rocks or logs. It's strange, absolutely, but it's incredibly useful for their survival.
Moving right along to Act 2, the distortion of time. When we think of ancient Earth, we typically picture massive forests filled with dinosaurs. But the timeline is actually staggering. Over 400 million years ago, sharks were already swimming in the oceans. It wasn't until about 50 million years later, around 350 million years ago, that the very first trees finally appeared on land. Think about that for a second. That means sharks existed before forests literally covered the land? These ancient predators have survived multiple mass extinction events, completely outliving the dinosaurs. So when you look at a shark, you're looking at a masterclass in deep time survival.
Zooming out into space, timescales get even stranger. Take Venus, for example. On Earth, our concept of time makes total sense. A day is a quick spin, and a year is a long journey around the sun. But Venus rotates so incredibly slowly on its axis that a single Venusian day takes 243 Earth days to complete. However, its orbit around the sun only takes 225 Earth days. That means Venus finishes an entire year before it even finishes a single day. Imagine celebrating your birthday before the sun even sets once. It's the only planet in our solar system where time basically operates backwards to our common sense.
Returning to Earth, we've got a substance where time essentially just stops. Honey is one of the only foods on the planet that literally never spoils. Archaeologists have actually opened ancient Egyptian tombs and discovered pots of honey that are over 3,000 years old. And the most shocking part? It was still perfectly edible. Because of honey's incredibly low moisture content, its natural acidity, and its built-in antibacterial properties, bacteria simply cannot grow in it. If stored properly, honey can sit on a shelf for centuries, completely defying the natural laws of decay that claim virtually every other food source.
Which brings us to Act 3, Invisible Forces at Work.
Okay, this one totally shatters every sci-fi movie illusion you've ever seen. We are so used to hearing giant explosions echoing through the cosmos on screen, but the scientific reality is that space is completely silent. Why? Well, because sound isn't just something that magically happens, it's a mechanical wave that requires a medium, like air or water, to travel through. Since outer space is nearly a perfect vacuum, there's simply nothing there to carry those sound waves to your ears. Even if a massive star exploded right beside your spaceship, you wouldn't hear a single thing. You would only witness the incredible, silent burst of light.
Back down on Earth, unseen physical forces are constantly altering the world around us. Because of thermal expansion, every single summer, the Eiffel Tower actually grows up to 15 centimeters, or about 6 inches taller. As the summer heat bears down on Paris, the massive iron structure absorbs that heat and expands. Then, as the temperatures drop in the winter, the iron contracts and the tower shrinks right back down. It's the exact same invisible scientific principle that forces engineers to build expansion joints into bridges and railway tracks.
Now, the invisible mechanics get even more intense when we look inside of you. Right now, your stomach contains acid that is so potent under the right conditions, it is strong enough to dissolve metal. So you might be wondering, why doesn't it just digest itself? Well, your body performs a completely invisible, automatic repair process, creating an entirely new stomach lining every few days. This constant, non-stop renewal is literally the only thing preventing that incredibly harsh acid from slowly destroying your own stomach walls. Without you even noticing, your body is constantly saving your life from its own chemistry.
And finally, Act 4, the ultimate plot twist.
When we walk down the street, our brains are basically hardwired to notice differences. We see different heights, different eye colors, different facial features, but genetics tells a wildly different story. Every single human being shares about 99.9% of their DNA with one another. That tiny 0.1% sliver is entirely responsible for all human diversity. Every physical difference between you and the person sitting next to you is packed into just 0.1% of your genetic code. Which brings us to our final thought. If a mere 0.1% of DNA is responsible for all the diversity in the human race, it's a really powerful reminder that despite our outward differences, we are far more alike than we ever realize. We live in a world where sharks predate trees, planets spin backwards, and your own body constantly rebuilds itself just to survive. The everyday world is an illusion masking incredibly complex, awe-inspiring science. So I leave you with this. Knowing that the universe defies our common sense at every turn, what other incredible truths do you think are hiding just out of sight in your everyday life? Keep asking questions, keep looking closer, and thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.